This channel is for educational purposes only. Please do your own due diligence before making any investment decisions. Hi, this is Joe Rabil with Invest Like a Pro. Today I'm going to give you a stock market update. Right now, there's a couple minutes left in the trading day on Thursday. I'm going to post this up Friday, but I have an appointment out of the office, so I want to make sure I get this done. Let's go ahead and get things going because I do want to cover the S&P, but I'm going to go through some other indexes real quick just to make sure we're staying on top of everything. What I like to do with this is, let me just move this over so you can make sure you can see everything. So I've got the sentiment at the bottom. I'm going to work my way up. When I'm going through these market conditions, I like to work from the bottom up, which is actually the way I look at the market, bottom up on individual stock basis. But when I look at the sentiment, the difference between the bulls and the bears, and I use the Investors Intelligence investment survey, okay? And right now there's 9% more bulls than bears. There's 41% bulls. So we had a little bit of a bump in the number of bulls this past week or so. And what's going on here, and if you look at the overbought, oversold, the RSI 5 is up at 63 now. So look at what's been happening. We have this sentiment that isn't getting overdone to the downside, meaning people aren't getting too bearish and people aren't getting too bullish. We're not getting any real signals here to turn this either positive or negative. All right. And then the same thing's happening in the overbought, oversold. You see how we're not getting any signals where to turn this positive or negative. So we want that combination where people get bearish and we get oversold, right? That's the signal. Or we get people get too bullish and we get overbought. And if we get that, then that usually sets up some type of a pattern if we can get the right short-term setup. So from that standpoint, we're still neutral. Now, one of the changes that took place this week is last week we already had the daily ATR declining below its moving average, which means that this volatility is positive. When we have declining volatility situation, that is a positive, and it's been like that for really since the beginning of this year is when it kicked in to positive. And I'm going to go into the trend and the momentum in a minute, but suffice it to say this quiet sideways period resolved itself to the upside with a big green bar. Now, on the weekly chart, this is where the change came in. We're actually below a declining. It doesn't look like it, but it is a declining moving average. The 18MA has turned down. Now, it's only slight. I like it to be a little bit more pronounced to give me a little bit more confidence that that's really turning down. But I think that's a pretty good sign, especially because we did take out this prior level. So if you look at it from this standpoint, we broke the trend line. We came back and tested. And now we have taken out this level. So we've got in the volatility, we've created a 1, 2, 3. Like I said, I'd like to see this moving average get a little bit more pronounced to the downside, but I'm starting to think now we're getting through the 200-day or the 40-week. And we're now testing this trend line again. So the last time I actually thought we'd push a little bit higher and maybe break that trend line. But in this case, we actually dropped down and now maybe we have enough momentum to get through that. So something we definitely want to watch, but a few key things that we will be eyeballing here as I go into the trend and the momentum, which currently are all neutral, but for different reasons. So let's go ahead and get into that. So last week, we were kind of hovering right around. In fact, when I did the review last week, we were below a declining 18-week, and we were still below a declining 18-month line, and we were below a declining 18-day. And we were looking to see if this trend line was going to be broken, right? And that would have been an operative sell signal if we would have broken that trend line, but we did not do that. You notice how we came down and tested it, but never broke it. And yes, I'm a big believer in waiting for the trigger. I don't think you guess. Yeah, we had all three time frames down. That's the analysis. But when you go and you look at the trigger. If you don't get a trigger, then you'd never put a trade on. This happens all the time in individual stocks that I'm recommending. I have setups all over the place, but we wait for triggers, and my subscribers know that. I talk about that all the time. So look at what's taken place. So not only did we not break that, but we resolved this low ADX consolidation with a really strong move to the upside on the hourly chart. And I'm going to zero in on the daily for a second. So we had this long period of sideways action, and then we get a really strong move to the upside, and we get the MACD to cross over, and we're getting some follow through. So it wasn't just a one-day thing and then failure. We're actually getting some follow through. We hit the 40, came down, and now have made a move through the 40, closed above, and now we're getting another close above. Now, what I'm looking for here is we're coming up into some resistance. And maybe we carry a little bit higher, maybe not, but I'm looking for the first pullback that tests this 18 now. This is not a strong enough situation by itself to expect it to go blowing through all this resistance. The target I had for this was on the S&P is 4050 to 4100. So this right up into this resistance here is really what the target is for this move. Now, the only way that would change is if we see improved momentum. So the way this could improve is if we get a move up and we pull back and green holds here, and then we turn back to the upside in both, and we get this ADX to start crossing above, and we get the MACD in the signal line to cross above the zero line. Then I could think that maybe we could get through that. Don't guess, all right? I mean, I know everyone wants to forecast. They want me to tell, everyone wants me to tell you what's going to happen. And what I try and do on this channel is explain that you don't need to do that to make money. Look and do analysis, do really good analysis, and go down to smaller time frames to help with the timing. And as long as right now, you see how strong the ADX is on the hourly, as long as that stays the case, then we don't want to be shorting this market, even though there's still some issues, especially with this 18-month declining overhead. But this is just a setup, right? We're potentially setting up as a rally to a declining 18-month. But if we never trigger to the downside, then we're not going to get short. All right. Now, what I'm going to look at is as we get closer to this 18-month line, I'm probably going to be watching the hourly action. If the hourly action shows any kind of a reversal, anything like that, where there's negative momentum characteristics taking place, where red gets going and MACD crosses down, yes, I'm willing to take a shot to the downside, because let me tell you, if we fail here, this is a huge negative. And I'm just going to show you the times that we've broken the 18-month and failed at a declining 18-month line, right? Like failing at a declining 18-month, failing at a declining 18-month leads to really bearish action, not the type of action you want to subject yourself to. So we have to watch that coming up. But right now, the signal is up. We've got improving action. We're operating off of a pinch play on the weekly. We came down and we pinched to the upside. We have a pinch play here, and we got a trigger with this closing above, or not closing above, but actually crossing above even these last two little mini doji bars. And now we're testing this trend line. If we can get through the trend line, then we go to the next level of resistance, which is the 18-month. So we want to be on the lookout for these things, but most importantly, we want to watch and see if we get any new momentum to really kick in, because if it does, the momentum could push us through resistance. Don't guess that we're hitting resistance. Don't guess and short the moment we hit resistance. Wait for a signal, at least from the hourly. That would be, probably the smallest time frame I'd go to look for a signal at the 18-month. But something we're going to need to watch as this rallies up towards 4,100. So that's the S&P. Let's go ahead and take a quick look. So the Qs, this is interesting to me because the monthly chart, look at how overbought this was relative to the zero line on the monthly and how far this was right really pretty much to start the year. And now look at what it's done. It's come all the way back to zero. All right. And now we've made one bottom, another bottom, third bottom. And these are all making improving momentum signs. This is going the other way. That's the sellers, right? So we're weakening the decline. And don't be surprised based on this momentum move and the strength of this move here. Don't be surprised if this doesn't play pretty well, at least to get back up towards the 18-month line. I mean, it's very possible this could play, but we have the same issue here. We need a tested 18. I'd like to see this cup around and prove itself. Then maybe we can push a little bit higher. If we just keep climbing the way we're doing it, then you sort of expect resistance at this prior peak. The DIA is the best of the indexes, in my opinion. We've already broken the downtrend line. We've already tested support. I had support around 320. We got down to around 325. But look at this beautiful pinch that developed and an opposing trend trigger to the upside, zero line reversal, low ADX. I mean, this is what we want. Now, we have the same pattern here. Look at this low ADX condition. Breakout, pull back to the 18. Now they're both rising. This would have been a good trigger to play this. So we've got that. I think that looks pretty good. Now IWM is pretty interesting because we've got a massive amount of support this has come into. This is hitting huge support here. And again, the MACD has worked off the overbought condition. And then the other thing is that the MACD keeps improving here. This made a new low here. Now it's making a higher low, but it's not. It's already back above its 200-day or the 40-week. And we don't have, we've got really good momentum on the hour. I mean, today this was the winner. Look at this, was up 1.7%. That's a big move in a when you compare it to some of the other indices, it was up 1.7. The diamonds were up 0.65%. So I think that's a good sign in the short term. I always like to see the small caps participating if we're going to move higher, but we've got some issues here. I mean, this is going to rally up towards the zero line on the weekly, and we're going to need new momentum. We're going to need momentum to get through all this resistance. Right now, the hourly is telling us to stay involved because we're not losing momentum yet on the hourly, and we might kick that into the daily. The dollar is really giving it up here. This has given back even more again this year now. So we have to watch. If this doesn't hold the 18-month line, I think that would be a huge negative for this index. It looks to me like crude found pretty good support. I have a feeling this is going to want to rally a little bit. Some of the action in the stocks actually has been pretty good over the last week or two. Now, one thing I'll mention in terms of energy, what I'm seeing that looks more attractive is coming from the drillers and the oil service companies and the equipment guys, more so than the big integrated guys or even the E&Ps. All right, just kind of keep that in mind. And then look at the gold futures. Look at this move. The dynamics of this move off the bottom is really good. Again, look at the MACD. Always want to look at this bigger time frame to see what's going on. You see how this came all the way back to the zero line, and now we're getting a really good move off of that. Very good sign. We do need some kind of weakness or a pullback, I think, to set this up. Also, look at how the 10-year yields are really dropping. So it looks like they want to come down and test this support here from this breakout from the last few years. And that is also probably a pretty good sign for the short term in some of these names that need to recover from their lows. Some of the growth stocks might get a little bit of a bounce off that. And notice this, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring that up, is look at what's going on here. Look at the day that Bitcoin is having, and look at what's happening for the first time. Since this period here, which was early April in 22, we've been below the 18, and now we're getting a pretty strong move. Now, this is the weekly 18, so we need to see how it trades tomorrow. But if we get a close above this 18 and then take out the high of this bar next week, then you'd have a confirmation of a real break of this 18-week line. And I think that would be a good short-term sign because this has been so depressed and it came back to this bigger support area. So that's the update for the week. Go ahead and post any questions or comments. Thanks.